All right, what's up, guys? Today we're going over 3 plays I took profits on last week. Gonna kind of break down how I traded them, why I took an entry in them, why I validated out of them, and just all that stuff. So let's jump right into it. So the first play we have here is AA. This one was super simple. As you can see, we had a channel up, right? So I mean, you can pretty much tell it's a channel. You had your trend line here. I actually do 2 trend lines. I drew 2 trend lines just because this price action was either reversing kind of right here in the beginning or is coming down to this bottom area. So I kind of wanted to create a loading zone. It was a little bit steep, I would say. It was about 3% of a channel for the trend line, but I didn't know that, it was going to reverse somewhere at the top of this trend line or the bottom of the support. So regardless, I drew a little channel support trend line there. And then I also had a resistance trend line just so I can kind of have an idea of where this may top out, which it actually works perfectly. I did cut a little price action right here. No reason for that, honestly. When I'm drawing my resistance trend lines, I'm not super specific with it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't try super hard to catch everything. So I was just kind of plopped it down. And it just happened to cut through some of the price action and didn't bother me. But regardless, I also did draw some support and resistance lines. This support to me was pretty obvious. We had it kind of bounce right here. And then bounced right here a little bit. Broke through a little here, but still kind of acted as support. And then right here is acting heavily as support. So just like in a recent, few months? Yeah, recent 2 months is acting as a good support. So I plopped it down. And it was also right at the very bottom of the trend line, so it worked perfectly. And the resistance, this wasn't exactly a perfect resistance level. I mean, it only hit like once or twice. But up here, you can kind of see we're consolidated a whole bunch at this level. So I just figured like, okay, you know what? I'll take profits here if things start to get rocky. And then, of course, I drew my loading zone, my stop loss, and my take profit area, right? So if we look, I got in right about here. It was a little bit in the loading zone, so it actually came down 1.5% to my stop loss, but luckily it was just hovering right above it, so I didn't get stopped out before it finally reversed. And it ran way past my take profits, went all the way up here for about 22%. However, I think I sold right near the top over here for about 17% right as soon as it got near that resistance trend line. Of course, I planned on taking profits right here in this green zone, but just by the way it's played in the past where it went from bottom to top, I had a feeling that it was worth holding, and it very much was. So I entered here, rode up to here. Obviously could have made a few more percent, but once it was here, it was becoming overextended on the RSI, and I got a little bit nervous, so I stopped out, made about 17% on this one. So very good play overall. All right, so next we have AACD. This one's a pretty obvious play. Traded off support and resistance. Nothing more to it, super simple. We did have a lower support right here, as you can see. I drew this one here just because this little wick stuck down here. And then, of course, there's one down here, but I was going to get stop out before then. Anywho, we had a main support right here. So we had a bounce once, almost twice, and almost 3 times. So this wasn't the most obvious support levels. Neither of them actually were the most obvious, but I just drew them based off of recent price action. And it worked out quite well because as you see, it bounced just in between it. So it came down a little bit and then reversed back to resistance level. Reason for the resistance level was because of where it topped out here. So see, we had consolidation right here. We had a little gap right here. And then the wicks came down 3 times almost at this resistance level. So very solid. Same thing goes with this right here. It almost neared it. Didn't fully get near it, but that's all right because we still came close. And then right here, rode right back up. So I actually entered like right at the bottom of this, right when it got kind of near that stop loss area. The purchase, we'll say right here, I think it was like 36.75, something like that. Maybe right there, we'll say. And then I wrote it up to just this bottom part right here. So I made about 7%. Only reason for that was because on my SMI, it started to curl down. And of course, I could have held out from the 2%. I usually get shaken out pretty easily. But regardless, I still made 7% off this one. It's a nice play. Up next, now we have AKTS. This was another super simple one, just basically traded it off of the support and resistance level. Nothing crazy to it. If we zoom in here, you can see there's a very obvious support happening. We have it bounce here, we have it bounce here, and we have it consolidating here. Of course, I did draw a lower support level. So if we zoom out, you can take a look on the 5-year 1-day chart that there is tons of consolidation and bouncing at this level. Both levels, actually. It's just so much. It looks crazy, right? So obviously I drew that other support level just as a kind of like, like if it falls to here, I'll get back in and sell out. If it goes anything below that, then obviously I would validate out and cut my losses. But regardless, perfect entry here. It came down to the support level. I was actually thinking with how hard it was falling, I had a feeling it was going to cut down here. But once it got to about this support level, But once it got down to this support level, it was obviously oversold. The MACD started curling, my SMI started curling, so I took an entry there. Entered right here, actually. It already ran a little bit. I think it ran 3.5% before I entered. So I missed a little bit of the move. That's all right, because I just wanted to be sure that it was actually going to reverse here. And then I wrote it up to where that red candle wick was. To right about, where was it? Right about here when it started pulling back. So it started pulling back around here before it went up a little bit more. But regardless, I got out for an 8% gain. Basically to where the resistance level was. I think I was a percent short of the resistance level I drew. So perfect charting on my part. It worked out really well. Really happy with that trade as well. All right, then the last one I traded for that week was ChargePoint, CHPT. This one, pretty obvious one. It's been falling recently. I think, since its highs recently is down 30% in the last month or two. But this was a super long-term support. I think if we go out to the 5-year, you can kind of see this right here. I wouldn't say super long-term, but we had some bouncing here in the past, here, and of course here. So why it wasn't a super support, it was just definitely a strong support that has played off in the past. So we zoom in, you can kind of see that it came down to here. It broke this first support level where I was thinking it might get in. If you look right here, it was actually oversold, so I thought it would reverse, but it came down immediately right to here where it was still oversold. And then once the SMI and the MACD curled, I took an entry right at this candle wick. I got in about $18, so about 1.5% above my stop loss. And then I wrote it up to right here. I made another 7% off that. Of course, as you can see right here, it actually started to fall. It fell 4% from right here at 1895. There was like a little micro support level here, but when it kind of did that pullback, I was still up 1%, so I just held because I was like, well, I have a feeling it's gonna go up. Everything still looked good to me. The price action still looked good. I think it was just a pretty red day, so I was like, whatever. And then of course the next 2 days it went back up to a high of 10%, but I exited for about 7.5%. So pretty strong play on ChargePoint there.